Are you using your sunny windows to maximum advantage? Hi, I'm Jonathan the Provident Prepper. Today on my honey-do list is to create some extra shelf space in these south-facing windows so my wife has more growing space. In this video, we'll show you how it's done.
If you've been following our videos, you know that I have been working on our indoor survival garden. And these bright windows are some ideal space to be able to produce food without using grow lights. And yet we had some problems with them. For starters, the plants were hanging off the edge, which created a whole bunch of problems. But then the foliage was actually touching the window, which the windows are really cool temperatures, right? And they tend to stay moist in the wintertime because of the condensation. And so it was creating all kinds of problems for these plants. And these happen to be pepper plants, which are warm-loving plants. And part of the plant was warm and the other part was touching this cold window. And then you have limited airflow around the plants just because they were pushed right up against the window. If we could bring these plants out, we would improve the airflow and thus improve the plant's overall health and reduce the disease and reduce pests. And then, quite frankly, this is an ideal location, and because we had such limited space, we were taking poor advantage of it. So my brilliant husband came up with a simple, inexpensive solution. These are the original windowsills, which were about 5 inches wide. So as you can see, we've got all this gorgeous sun coming directly in through those windows that we're not taking advantage of. One of the things that we noticed with the plants in the windowsill was that the windowsills tended to get wet, which is not a good idea unless you have some water-resistant material. So we picked up shelving that was water resistant. This shelving can be easily wiped off and will not be damaged by moisture. We decided that the optimal width of the shelf would be about 12 inches, and these shelves are just shy of that. And then each one of the pieces that we bought were 48 inches long. Well, 47 and something inches long, which is just a little bit longer than the window.
We started by carefully measuring the window openings so that we could get those boards just snug. We then trimmed the shelves so that they would fit the windows, and as it turns out, the cut off pieces were just perfect to use as cleats to hold that in. After cutting the shelves, we test fitted them to make sure they fit just perfectly. It took a couple of iterations, but we got it just right.
Jonathan created these little cleat blocks out of the end pieces that were cut off the board. This was a brilliant idea. By using those cleats, you've only put a few holes into the sheetrock. And so if you just pull them out, you can fill them with a caulk and paint over them, and nobody would ever be the wiser because your existing window seal does not get any damage.
We then pre-drilled the pilot holes so that the blocks wouldn't split and so that the screws would go in more easily. We then secured the cleats with screws. I chose a 2.5 inch screw so that it would have plenty of anchorage after going through a 5/8 inch piece of wood and a 1/2 inch of sheetrock.
And then my job was to caulk the edges. And we wanted to make sure that that happened because we talked a little bit about the water issues, and we don't want any water seeping back in behind and getting into the original windowsill and causing any damage. So just by caulking all around those edges, we have made it water resistant. And these are my beautiful new remodeled windowsills, all ready to be occupied with my plants of choice. And as you can see, I have significantly more room than I did just by installing these simple shelves. And these are my handyman. And one of the things that I wanted to point out of something that's really important is that Jonathan could have easily done these shelves all by himself. And quite frankly, it might have even taken him less time. However, by teaching Benjamin how to do it and working side by side, he's passing on these skills to the next generation and making sure that Ben has the skills that he needs to take care of his family. And now my peppers are in their new little home with significantly more growing space, and I can't wait to see what I put on the rest of these shelves. We have many plants in our future. The thing that I really like about increasing the amount of space that we have in the windowsill is that this is direct sun. This means that I don't have to depend on grow lights to grow the food that I put in these windows. This was a quick, inexpensive solution. It cost less than $30 total. It increased my productive area. It improved the temperature regulation for the plants and improved the airflow, which means healthier plants, higher productivity, and less headache for me.
We invite you to check out the Provident Prepper, How to Grow an Indoor Survival Garden, for lots more good ideas and tips.
And you might be interested in a couple of these videos. The first one is Fresh Greens Every Day for Pennies. And that is what really got me started into this indoor survival garden, because I discovered that for literally pennies a day, I can keep my family in all the fresh greens that we could possibly eat. Which means that when times get hard, we've got what we need growing right here inside of our own home. And then a video, Indoor Survival Garden. And in this video, we walk you through what our survival garden looked like a couple months ago. We'd made such incredible progress, and we're learning how to grow all kinds of different things. So I invite you to take a few minutes and watch that video.
Check them out. Here's the final product. It turned out really nicely. At least my wife says so, and that's what really matters. This has created more space for her to grow plants without the plants being up against the cold windows. And there's room here for even additional plants. And now for the question of the day. What success have you had growing in a sunny window? Comment below. And thanks for being part of the solution.